I used to think healing was supposed to look calm, like clean journals with clarity, lighting up candles, and it being like such an aesthetic thing. But lately, I realized that healing does not look like peace at all. It becomes peace after chaos. And I think this idea that healing looks a certain way and healing looks so aesthetic comes from social media and how social media shows what healing looks like. Or the glow up montage with doing yoga in the morning and having perfect breakfast and the perfect skincare routine. But something I think social media doesn't show is the breakdowns, the stuff that happens before you get to that aesthetic healing, or forgetting not to eat because your chest feels so heavy. That healing looks like crying on your bedroom floor because you can't explain, or like you're just so confused of what happened to you. I used to think healing had to look like a picture perfect version of myself. Candles lit, taking naps, soft smiles, like everything is so lined up like a photo shoot. But life does not look like that, right? And it doesn't, and it looks like sometimes loud and messy and chaotic. And that's the exact opposite thing that social media tries to show us. This episode is about healing, messy healing, ugly healing, the parts that we hide instead of showing. But even in the chaos that we think is bad healing, I think is moving us forward. And welcome to This Mic is Crying, the space where I spill my words so you could feel less alone in yours. Welcome to This Mic is Crying, a space where I spill my words so you could feel less alone in your process. When I first started to feel like there was a right way to heal was when I started going down this rabbit hole of like the ritualistic journaling neatly with clarity, or only journaling and processing my feelings once I understood it and I felt calm enough to express myself. And I think I learned to connect aesthetics with healing and also with order. But my healing doesn't always look like that. Sometimes my healing looks messy and it comes from feelings that I cannot explain, but I kind of have to, and I'm kind of forced to, whether it's crying in the bathroom floor or texting my friends like when I'm crying, breaking down, and like just trying to find some sort of connection or like outlet to express myself, being desperate for it, and it looking so messy. Sometimes it's screaming to release rage. Sometimes it's just sitting with something so heavy in my chest I don't know where to put it. All you need to know about this story is that someone did me dirty, and that led to one of my explosions. Like around April, May, I realized that I had been manipulated, and my reality felt so shaky, and I couldn't understand what just happened to me because I was so unaware of the manipulation happening and how like I just wasn't aware of it. And once that realization came to me, my body like just panicked and my body felt so unsafe of how I let myself be around this person, and like it was like this rabbit hole of thoughts and bad thoughts and overthinking, and like that led me to have one of the biggest breakdowns I think I've ever had. And it's like just crying in the bathroom floor, and I remember like something in my body just wanted to release and wanted to find a connection with somebody, that I posted it in my close friends. I was crying and I was trying to explain what was happening to me, and I was trying to get clarity over my feelings. And that was my version of healing. It was messy, it was uncontrollable, it was raw. And it's one of those things where like you don't like, you feel like you're going backwards, you feel like you're crying, and like that doesn't feel like healing. Like for me, like, I always thought healing was aesthetics. I always thought healing was feeling good and like feeling calm. But I think moments like those bring us forward. But after that moment, I set a boundary for myself. I was not going to shame myself for feeling feelings, because at the end of the day, I'm a human. And to this day, that boundary still sticks. And I don't think that was one moment of just messy healing. There's another part of my life that I feel like I healed through being messy, and that was when I got ghosted by a friend for the first time in my life. And it looked like it's trying to find clarity through making songs and through journaling, because someone ghosted me with no explanation, no closure, no remorse for my feelings. And honestly, that kind of loss, it's its own kind of messiness. And like, I was trying to make sense of everything. Like, I kept refreshing my phone to see if they texted me. I kept trying to figure out what I did wrong. And it felt like grieving someone who was still alive. And that felt so weird to me, because that never happened before. And that also taught me something, that silence can feel like chaos even when you're healing. And sometimes it's not the explosion that's the ugliest part, but the silence after. And in these two stories, my body reacted in ways I never really felt before. And that's growth, because I'm learning myself and I'm learning what triggers me and learning that I'm also human. Like heavy chest and wandering arms, a clogged nose because of how much I've cried. Just trying to make sense of everything that just happened to me. And if I could go back in that moment and tell myself something, it's that it's okay to feel everything that I'm feeling right now. And me trying to express myself and me just sitting there with those emotions and even the tears, that is a step forward. I tell myself that this is your process and you are valid just the way you are. Every tear, every chaotic moment, that's process. Healing is not a straight line. Healing is not linear. And each time I let myself feel, I reclaim a part of myself. And everybody heals differently. For me, it was talking to my friends, and it was writing songs, and it was journaling, even though at first it was confusing and I was just trying to express myself. Not even trying, I was just expressing myself. And I was writing songs to create a feeling for myself and create a connection to myself that I've never felt before. And to somebody else, healing could look like talking to their friends. Healing could look like going to the gym, going on a walk, running, swimming. Healing looks so many different for different people. Healing could also look like dancing. One friend heals through acting. Another vents into a voice note. What I'm trying to say is that there's no single method for how people heal, because we're all genuinely different individuals. Sometimes the best lines that I wrote came from breakdowns, and those are the ones that sting me so hard. For me, creativity made something that I could hold, and it's kind of like bringing something out of me so my paper could just hold the feelings that I've been feeling. I've drawing is also a creative outlet for me, because you can't see it, but behind this was this drawing that I written when my dad had a heart attack, and I drew that just at the hospital because I was so scared and I was so overwhelmed and I was feeling all of these feelings that I just had to let it out there. And even though it was messy, that's still progress, because suddenly that weight didn't need to live in me anymore. When has your healing felt ugly? And what did that moment teach you? I want to invite you to do two things with me. First, think of a moment that healing felt loud or messy or uncontrollable for you. Picture a single detail, a text, a smell, a place. Hold it for 2 seconds. Second, if you want, You could write me a letter or comment it down below about that ugly healing moment, or write it down yourself. Read it in your note, write it in your journal, or send it in your voice note, because that way you get to let something out that you feel in yourself. And I think there's a beauty in messy healing, and it prepares you for life. When you go through those moments of messy healing and feelings that you can't control, I think that is like kind of like finding a Thanos stone. Like you get like each like one Thanos stone, and like if you were to feel those feelings again, it would like you'd feel a little bit comfortable, more comfortable than you have before. So it's kind of like feeling a new feeling and feeling a new emotion, and in that way, like we learn to be more comfortable with ourselves, and we learn to process our feelings even more, and we learn to turn moments like those into lessons or into art, and that turns into wisdom, because it teaches you patience, it teaches you to trust yourself, and also how to be soft in a world that is hard sometimes. So if you ever feel like your messy, hard, loud moments are wrong, they're not. They're exactly what they had to be in order for you to move on to the next chapter of your life. One small promise I'm making to myself is being kinder to myself, to genuinely accept every part of me, whether it's messy, whether it's soft, whether it's crying in my bathroom floor, not knowing why I'm feeling this way. And someone once told me, if one bad thing happens, you have so much pages in your book. Think about your page think about your life like a book. When you have a messy moment, that is just one page in the book, and you have so much life to live, and you have so much memories that you haven't lived yet. And I want you to remember that this messy chapter is like a page that it's going to look smaller as you keep living your life. Thank you to listening to This Mic is Crying, to honoring our messy, imperfect selves, because we're human and we're doing it together. So if this landed to you today and you felt touched by anything I said, This Mic is Crying with you.